Я молодший брат.
Я водій маршрутки.
Я скоро одружуся. Я фанат шахтера.
Начальник отдела продаж.
Я прораб.
Я программист.
Я свидетель на свадьбе.
Дядя Юра. Таксист. Я вчитель фізкультури.
Я студент-геолог.
У мене своя фірма.
Я кращий друг зі школи.
Я сусід, який завжди стукає по батареї.
Я єдиний син.
Hello. 1, 2, 3. Welcome this Sunday. Tell me if you hear me. I hope you do. We are a little bit somewhat unexpected that it's going to be a stream. I was planning to do a video today, but it ended up being a little bit too much to edit and I didn't have enough time. So I thought, let's do video tomorrow. And today we're just going to do a stream. It's a little bit faster to start and I have some time to spend. Hey everyone, Han Duncan, Niels, everyone, nice to see you. We start with best wishes to our moderators, being very thankful for what they're doing. Just recently there was an International Volunteer Day, and I think they fall under the volunteering part for sure. And we are saying special extension to Ali, because Ali is right now fighting a little bit of a sickness. She can write herself what she wants to share, but what we can do is we can extend our best wishes to Ali to get back on her feet as soon as possible. So with that said, also additional love to Lisa. That's something that we just definitely need to do. Now that thanks have been given, it's very nice seeing you all guys here. Let's talk about Ukraine. I didn't have anything prepared for today, as I explained, so my notepad is somewhat empty. So I'm going to focus mostly on your questions. I don't have any big speeches, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get frustrated about something eventually. And we're going to see where we're going to end up. Let's see. The question section is up. So you can just write your questions there, and we're going to go from down from that questions. We also started like this week. Man, this week we launched our shop, and it has been really nice. The shop is looking great. We are trying to solve a couple of issues with certain payments. I need to reach out to my bank because the bank suddenly was just shocked. Because we didn't kind of agree that there's going to be an announcement for thousands and thousands of people that we're going to launch a shop, and my bank, like, because how the shop works is the money that you guys pay for purchasing anything, it kind of goes in this temporary account, and then it's going to get paid out to our company account, which is how it works, like once per month or something like that. But in the meantime, the executor, the one that produces the goods that you ordered, they are charging our account, like company's account, to kind of like, can you pay us for making that money while you're waiting for so it's a little bit of a weird situation. And then our account was like, oh my God, so many orders suddenly being charged from this one source online. We're going to block it. So I'm going to wait until Monday until our bank is back to open so I can resolve some of that. So if you have certain delays or not confirmations on your orders, be aware that it's because our bank was not just expecting that such a big supportive group suddenly decides to buy a lot of stuff, which is very nice. Anyway, let's talk Ukraine. Let's see what you guys are asking, and we're gonna focus on that. Alan Christensen, what long-term solutions do you see for Ukrainian arms deals? Well, I mean, it's already being worked on, the long-term solutions. Long-term solutions are twofold, right? The first one is direct investment into EU and US economies. So that's the same what that US is doing with US US aid packages that they're doing with financing their industry and making long-term commitment orders for years to come, where they are asking their producers. That is one thing. Second thing is weapons manufacturers reaching out with Ukraine, and Ukraine working directly with weapons manufacturers to put production on the ground for Ukraine specifically. So it's either going to be factories within Ukraine or dedicated factories that are built in the territories of allied countries such as Poland, the Baltics, and so on, where these factories will start producing dedicated equipment for Ukraine, and that's already happening as well. And then instead of European Union and US donating weapons to Ukraine from their stocks, and having all of that discussion about whether or not it's making their militaries weaker, instead, EU, for example, specifically, will be a lot more comfortable because EU has a lot of money. And we can donate money pretty easily. Like for us, signing off like a couple of tens of billions is not really a big deal for EU. Like anyone that's living in EU knows that's like, yeah, okay. If it's just a question of money, yeah, sure, whatever. So it's going to be a lot easier to then get support, military kind of support from EU, because it will be just EU paying money to the manufacturers that will then produce weapons. The problem of EU right now is that EU does not, many countries in EU does not have weapons stock, or the weapons stock is so low, so trying to draw down from that weapons stock is compromising security of the European Union states, or they just don't have manufacturing power, because we don't have any manufacturers that were producing to a scale that is necessary for Ukraine, because Ukraine is incredible in scale. Those all are long-term commitment solutions that in the long term can be extremely beneficial to Ukraine, and that's just a question of time. They've already been working. I've already explained that from what I'm hearing, the outline is about 2 years. So from let's say from the middle of this year, like from summer, it would be like 2 years. So it's summer 2025, I believe, that we would see that Ukraine is receiving sufficient amount of sustainable production. Kellen Dunn, with US aid uncertain, do you think it's more wise for the armed forces of Ukraine to conserve manpower material throughout 2024 until they can ramp up armor, drones, long-range production domestically? It takes around 2 years. I mean, yes, you're perfectly, with that question, you're perfectly in line with what I'm saying. People think that Ukraine is just done, like US stopped supplying Ukraine, that's it, Ukraine is over. Well, firstly, I'm not as negative. I still believe that there is a lot of goodwill in general for support of Ukraine inside of US. It's an unhealthy discussion in a sense that you are tying in external support for your critical ally that is doing an important job right now with some of your internal issues. That is unfortunate. But generally speaking, there's still goodwill in there. So I'm expecting that at some point this will get resolved into US. And then the second point is that Ukraine is not fully dependent on US. Ukraine is needing US to help bring the fight back to Russia. They require help from Ukraine to beat Russia, to absolutely extinguish Russian military. However, Ukraine still has a lot of allies, and a lot of European allies are increasing support. A lot of production is still getting bumped up. A lot of Ukrainian production, their own military production, is also online. So Ukraine is not in a absolutely devastated position. It's not going to be like, oh, US stopped supporting Ukraine, therefore Ukraine is going to be rollover. No, I think that there's going to be a question whether or not Ukraine will be able to assemble a lot of weapons to go on the offensive, but I'm pretty confident that Ukraine has sustainable power to defend what they are having right now. So I'm not seeing this as this is something I'm going to actually talk about tomorrow's video, and this was kind of the main topic, is that we're living right now in two kind of parallel realities. We have the media reality, where media vultures are feeding on your emotions. They're trying to get that negativity out and trying to paint the picture that everything is lost, Ukraine is lost, like nothing is helped, no everyone gave up on Ukraine, which is just factually not true, because the second reality, the factual reality, when you look at the facts on the ground, when you look that Russians cannot achieve shit, when you look at that Ukraine, despite having issues with the US and everything else, still has supplies, it's launching additional production facilities, it's launching additional drone production, it still gets money, its economy is sustaining and recovering a little bit, it's not a lot, but a little bit. So there is a lot of very positive factors that are just getting ignored for no reason. And Ukraine is not in a, let's put it this way, Ukraine is not in as bad position as it was at the start of the Russian invasion, when Russians made it to capital. I don't see that. The facts on the ground don't support that. Is it going to be tough? Yes. Is a lot of Ukrainians going to die? Absolutely. Is it going to be bloody fight? Absolutely devastating, and it should never be allowed? Yes, yes, yes. But is Ukraine about to lose? Hell no. Like, are they going to like win Russia and drive Russians out? That's where US help would have needed. But about survival? No, I don't think so. Death Buzz, hello Georgies, how can you be so positive? I mean, I'm not positive. It's like, I mean, how do you see? Like, positivity is looking for some kind of an outcome that is not all doom and gloom. And in my perspective, when I look at the facts, what I just said, I don't see the negativity that a lot of these emotional vultures in a lot of these top-notch media articles all over the world that are just trying to get any kind of clickbait value from the Ukrainian tragedy. They're just they're painting a picture which I just don't see. I don't factually see that picture on the ground. Like, Ukraine is not losing support. There is very little, like, in regards to whether or not Russia, like, a lot of them are painting that, like, Russian army has, like, no issues whatsoever, that they're, like, about to roll over Ukraine, and then you just look on the ground, it's like, no, it's not. Russia is having the same issues. Like, Russians are not, like, are they having a lot of equipment and people? Yes. Can they sustain it? Yes. Can they, like, roll over, win Ukraine, whatever? No. And are Ukrainians ready to give up? No. So what are we exactly talking about? Yes. Kalendan, can Ukraine revive its economy? Revive its economy? No. If the war prolongs for years? No. Back in 2014, Ukraine was able to shift to IT professional services and economy was rebounding. Can domestic defense industry be revived? To an extent. There has been a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of criticism internally in Ukraine. I'm very closely following this. There's a lot of internal conversations in Ukrainian experts with regards to their manufacturing industries, and a lot of them, they're having this reality check moment right now. Yeah, they're having a moment that says, we had a manufacturing military production complex which was really powerful in the 80s, around the Soviet times, and it was producing the equipment that was potent and sufficient for that time. Our current production complex are inadequate to challenges that we are having in this war and going forward. A lot of the advanced manufacturing requires technologies that Ukrainians just don't have. And the discussion is, should or should not Ukraine invest in their own manufacturing to, for example, start producing some of the older T-model tanks? Is it really necessary? Does Ukraine needs the old T-model tanks produced from a new one? And slowly but surely it seems the answer is being not really no. So the question is not whether they can rebuild, because I don't feel that there is a lot of things to rebuild. I feel that the past is gone, that whatever Ukraine thought it had of the manufacturing complex during the Soviet times, I feel that thing should go, and Ukraine needs to work with the modern manufacturers of weapons, such as like South Korea and so on, to make sure they start producing things. I think Ukraine needs to do cut and run. They need to understand things that work. Like, for example, Bogdana, 155 millimeters is really nice artillery system. Their Stugna anti-tank weapons, super nice. Couple of their missiles that they have been mentioning here and there are nice. But a lot of the crap that they were using from the Soviet times, it needs to die. It needs to go. There is no way for them to use it. I think they need to switch to a new modern time manufacturing and instead maybe focus on the things that are actually relevant for them to produce. For example, instead of producing their own tanks, they find a way they can buy tanks, modern tanks, and instead they focus on producing, for example, drones, something that no one is producing in the world. That is the way how I see it. But again, I just know that there is discussion that is ongoing on it. Yes, right now Ukroboronprom mostly is focusing on the artillery, not just artillery, but general ammunition. Like majority of Ukroboronprom is like ammunition. They've been working really hard to start producing their ammunition, and they are on a good track, despite the fact that manufacturing process is questionable. Like, for example, they're making the shells, the 155 millimeter artillery shells, and Ukroboronprom. What they're doing is they're making like a two-part shells that they're then later bringing together, and it's becoming like a one. There's been a lot of criticism that this is like not an ideal shell, that it's like sometimes can be defective, that your defect rate is higher than if it's a whole shell that is just molded right away. So like the technology that Ukroboronprom is using is also not as perfect. But I think right now the question was more about how do we scale as fast as possible with maybe not ideal technologies in work. So that was kind of the goal of Ukroboronprom. Yes. Dylan, what is that I hear about Klitschko comparing Zelenskyy to Putin? Klitschko is a big mouth. Klitschko is having trouble in Kiev, like because his city is falling apart. And he is trying to basically downplay that anything that happens in Kiev, anything that's the problem with infrastructure, he's trying to kind of play it in his political campaign, stating that's like, oh, it's because there was like too much direct involvement of Zelenskyy in governing the capital city, because the capital city is a strategic object. This is like the heart of the country, and a lot of like, because of the war economy and so on, it was essentially run by a lot of the military personnel. So Klitschko is trying to save his ass. Yeah, and Metro as well, yeah. So Komimus posted a video about possible use of GLSDB. Do you think it's possible that they're already there? As far as I understood, Lorna, there might have been certain... I've tried to dig in why it takes additional like couple of months to deliver these GLSDB, why it has been pushed, because they were supposed to be delivered on. And the question was that there was not full-scale testing process set up for a large-scale production. So like they supplied supposedly some initial versions of these GLSDB, but there was not like a large-scale quality assurance process set up, which is kind of weird, but that's what I was able to gather. So could there be that some of the tested shells that were like primary produced, but they are not still on the standardized testing process, made their way to Ukraine? Yeah, it's possible, but I don't have facts to either confirm or deny it, but it's possible. Russia is pushing Venezuela to invade Guyana. Okay, so this is kind of not Russia. This is the consequences. This is what I was talking about when I basically started this channel over a year ago. Like, this is the consequences of us now living of a less safe world. We fucked up. Well, not we. Our leaders fucked up in the West. Really bad. because of their inability to respond to the changing world situation, of their inability to get their shit together, to kind of figure out that we are being challenged. Everything that we stand for, all of the democracies, all of our, like the world, the rule of law, everything is being challenged by Putin. Inability to understand and realize that threat is what we are seeing the consequences of right now. We are seeing that dictators around the world are saying, okay, the policeman is out. There is no one that is policing the world anymore. UN is useless. They're not acting on anything. They're not preventing anything. No one is looking. If you have the force, you're good to go. We are back pretty much like on the trajectory, full steam ahead, back to the age of empires. You gotta be big before someone bigger swallows you up. That's where we're going to. Probably not in Europe. NATO is still kind of forced to defend ourselves. But what happened is that we closed in our shells. We closed in our NATO shells and says, we're gonna defend every inch of NATO territory. Yes, but like you're allowing the war everywhere else. That's what happened. That is the situation that we're finding ourselves in. We're extremely fast moving into a less secure world, and there is nothing that is stopping it anymore. Like we are not even working on it, trying to rebuild it. We're still playing pretend with UN, like that kind of platform is even worth anything, that it does anything. It doesn't. We are now back again in the age of empires, and that's just the harsh truth. That is what I was telling you about. That is why Putin needs to be stopped, and he needs to be made an example of. Right now, we already lost that moment. That moment is gone. Everyone saw that Putin did bad with Ukraine, but Ukraine is also not getting the full help that they need. So maybe if it would not be in Europe, no one would even care. So why not? Why not? And this is where we are, because we didn't stood up to the bully. Now people think like other dictators. They're thinking, yeah, okay, it's time to go. Right now, the war still hasn't come to Europe and United States, but we are on a very fast trajectory that it quite might. It quite might. And I don't know what to do, guys. Like this is our leaders just completely blubbing it all over. And our leaders just fully gave up on the whole post-World War II world setup completely. Just made like, okay, we're just not going to protect it. Whatever our ancestors fight for, not our problem. Yeah. I might be wrong here, but I think Ukraine is a much stronger economically and militarily now than last year. Better air defense, Black Sea corridor, domestic defense production, etc. Do you agree? Yeah, Kellen, I specifically talked about this. As I said, there's just a lot of these media narratives, either Russia propaganda or just because it's attracting clicks. People are just like, okay, cool. We're going to do it. Your opinion on Zelensky's trip to South America, as well as the operations of the Black Sea export corridor. I mean, Black Sea export corridor is amazing. That's an absolute hugest win of Ukraine for the summer offensive, for their summer campaign. The fact that they were able to completely open up the corridor for their trade is incredible. It's incredible. It's a huge boost to their economy. And economy means independence. The stronger the economy, the more the independence. As for Zelensky's trip to South America, I mean, yeah, Milei comes in. Milei, he's kind of interesting. I read initially about Milei's economic program and how wild and out of this world it was presented. And I was like, that sounds really weird. But then I kind of looked a little bit deeper into it, and it actually makes a lot more sense now. Now, is this radical? Yes, but I also don't fully understand the economic situation of Argentina. And as far as I understand, it's a lot of problems with the elites and specifically the politicians and the economists and generally like the ruling class in Argentina just being dog shit. So Milei had some really good ideas there. One of the major ideas, obviously, for prosperity for the economy is starting to trade. And as far as I understood, Argentina has been mostly like right now closed economy, that it didn't really trade that much with the world, which is a pity. So I'm hoping that it will bring something. And if Milei is actually going to try to open trade flows, I think maybe working with Ukraine, working with the eastern countries like Baltics, Poland, and so on, it can be a very beneficial trade relationships. Thankfully, we're not living in 1950s anymore, where like these transatlantic trade was something unbelievable. Now it's like, okay, we just need to set it up. So it's so I think there is a lot of possibility there, but we'll see. All right, couple of donos. Kimball, thanks so much for $1. I appreciate it. Every bit helps. Budwar, thank you so much for being a member for 10 months. Whoa, nice. Budwar, hello, Georgies and UM communities. Don't forget to hit the like button. Absolutely. Kimball, thanks so much for $10. Kevin Materi, thanks so much for 10 Canadian bucks. A little bit of help. Absolutely. Jakub P, thank you so much for 20 gifted Ukrainian memberships. David Oliver, I'm afraid for Ukraine. All I hear on media is Russia getting economy from China, Iran, and raw oil gas sales. I really want Ukraine to win, but I really want no war. And Ukraine have 100% of Ukraine. Well, if we don't want any war, we need to support Ukraine. The more weapons Ukraine has, the faster the war ends. Unfortunately, we cannot unfuck ourselves to actually start delivering things to Ukraine. But Ukraine is trying its best, and they have the resolve to win this. They don't really have any other option, and they understand it. As for what you hear on media, listen back to what I said about media just being vultures. And right now, because there is this somewhat of a lack, because of the lack of the deliveries on the expectations during the offensive, now they're just painting this doom and gloom picture, which is completely ignoring facts that are supporting Ukraine doing not as bad as it did like even a year ago. It's just dishonest and absolutely unbelievable that they're completely ignoring any kind of better news for Ukraine that were that are there on the ground, and it's like, okay, no, Russia is doing so good, Russian economy doing so good. Yeah, except they're stating that Russian economy is doing so good, and then when you look into Russian economists and their analysis and what they're talking about on their forums, and they're saying like, our economy is so incredibly fucked, that's like, yeah, maybe they should not like listen to these Western journals that are trying to just paint some kind of weird narratives, but instead listen to, I don't know, Russian economists that are just ringing the bell and saying our economy is in shitter. Like, I don't understand what's the deal with just painting Ukraine in all negative colors. I don't understand how it's helping anyone. Yes, remember guys, if you want to help, you don't need to necessarily go and do the YouTube super, what is it called, super comment. Instead, you can go to the ukrainematters.store or shop, ukrainematters.shop, and buy yourself something for Christmas. Like, because the money that we get from the store is going to follow exactly the same pattern as we do with the YouTube. It's either going to support YouTube, but I don't really need that much support anymore. I have my setup fully set up. But instead, we're going to try to donate more money to Ukrainian armed forces. And obviously, the profits from the store that we get, we also, a significant part of it will go to support Ukrainian armed forces. So if you're feeling like, how do I support Georgie? Go and buy something for yourself. Treat yourself for something. Not just leave a YouTube comment where about 50% goes to YouTube. Yeah, Google, big supporter of Ukraine. Hi, Georgie. Could you give a summary of what mood is on the Capitol Hill and the White House for this upcoming decisive week? Jamie, I am not the person to ask. Like, you should probably ask Jake Bro, or even not even Jake Bro, maybe Paul Massaro, like people that are digging into US politics. I don't follow US politics that much to give you like what's the mood and so on. That I don't know. That is way above my head. Way above my head. But yeah. Tosunabe, what is this Hungary's Orban going to US talk with Republicans not to provide weapons to Ukraine? What the fuck? I mean, yeah? I mean, are there Republicans that don't want to provide weapons to Ukraine? Yes. So they're just going to talk with Orban. Apparently, like, dictators are now welcome in US. I don't know. Like, you tell me, people from US, can you tell me why US and Republicans suddenly start inviting all of these dictators? Why don't we invite Kim Jong-un? I'm pretty sure he wants Russia to win as well. He also thinks that US should stop supporting Ukraine. Maybe if Republicans also invite Kim Jong-un, then maybe US will stop spending money on South Korea. Yeah? How about that? Save money on South Korea. Listen, invite Tovarish Kim. I'm sure that's gonna help. Yeah. Lavrov, the West's 500 years of domination of the world is coming to an end. Yeah. Lavrov, like, don't listen to Lavrov. I mean, like, yeah, I already talked about this. Federico, hi there. Thank you for these updates. Can you explain what's going on the delivery trucks stuck at the Polish border? So I already explained the situation around the Polish border. It's because of the story is very, very complex. It's a very nasty story because, like, and Ukrainian border guards are also at fault there. So it's like we need to be very clear that it's a difficult situation on both sides because Ukrainians were not treating the Polish truckers as fairly and so on. With that said, completely blocking off help that doesn't just follow the official health corridors and like literally blocking equipment that is required to save lives, I think that's just completely indefensible. And right now there are talks. Donald Tusk, the next prime minister of Poland, has already expressed that he will try to end the blockade as soon as they are in power. So I think Polish border will be unlocked quite soon. So far, the workaround that the Ukraine found, they're using the Ukraine Zelenskyy is the railway net service provider, which is going to Poland, loading trucks onto the train, and then using that train to bring the trucks into Ukraine. So that's the workaround that they found. But again, it requires certain work to be done. So it's not as easy as just trucks driving over the border. It's an atrocious situation. There is very little good that is there, and it paints a very, very nasty picture. As for blocking from Hungary and Slovakia, the same thing is there. Both Hungary and Slovakia, the truckers are supposedly against that, but they're just piggybacking on the Polish truckers. And we know that both Hungary and Slovakian government will do jack shit to help Ukraine. Putin trolling here, but I'm pretty sure someone will nuke him. I have a trust in my moderators. Your opinion on Zelenskyy? Okay, I already talked about this. I might be wrong, Kellen. I might be wrong, but I think Ukraine is... Okay, I already read this. Lewis, Biden wants a Ukrainian victory between March and August to boost his re-election. No, I don't... What? Sorry, this sounds like a political speak, and like it's like a political hoax, like Biden wants Ukrainian victory to boost his bullshit. If he wanted Ukrainian victory, Ukraine would have won by this point. He had many opportunities to help Ukraine, but it ended up with him just stating, oh, we're going to be with Ukraine for as long as it takes. Well, I mean, as long as you're allowed to, I guess. Because now they're like, oh, we cannot help it. Don't have any more leverage. Because he had everything. He had the Lend-Lease program. He had the ability to do the drawdown. He had the ability to submit like more than 60 billion requests, for example, for previous year. There was a lot of possibilities of what Biden could have done. But he didn't. He had the power. It's because Biden and his administration just wanted to turn Ukraine into essentially a Vietnam for Russians. Like Vietnam or Afghanistan. So he wanted to make sure that Putin, when they withdraw from Ukraine, is going to be because they decided themselves to withdraw from Ukraine. Like US did or in Vietnam or something like this. So that's the way that he wanted like to play this. It's already now kind of clear. There has been plenty of reporting on this. It's not a secret anymore. And that strategy backfired gloriously because now Biden is ultra fucked. And now he doesn't even have resources to do anything. And everything that he could have done to help Ukraine during that grace period while Ukraine still had like the eyes of the world dead center on it, he fucked up. He put it down the drain. Because he decided to go for this, we should put it the way that Russia withdraws themselves. Yeah. So it's an unfortunate situation where the choice of strategy defined the outcome for Ukraine. And it's going to be long and bloody conflict. And a lot more Ukrainians are going to die. Because they realize, oh, Ukraine channels just cannot win. It's too dangerous. We're going to have a dangerous Russia if Russia will not withdraw themselves. So we need to put Russia in a situation where they will look and like they assess their losses and so on, and they will withdraw themselves. This is what we're not going to allow Putin win in Ukraine. So does it mean that you're going to allow Ukraine to win? No, that's not what we said. Like we're not going to allow Putin to win. We're going to be with Ukraine as long as it takes. Yeah, crap. Yeah, and now he's ultra screwed. Fifth Caddy, hi Georgie, good job. Question is it worth if Ukraine kicks out the Russians into Transnistria? Not really. Like Transnistrian Russians don't pose a lot of threats. Also, Ukraine cannot just go into there because it's a sovereign country, because Moldova recognized Transnistria as their territory. So Ukraine cannot just invade Moldova. Like that's not what they do. And Moldova themselves, they don't have the power to go into Transnistria to deal with them. They don't have the military. And moreover, they don't ask Ukraine to come in and help them clear the rebels there. So Ukraine is stuck with just having these guys on their border. So Transnistria is an unsolvable question unless Moldova finds a couple of balls, but they haven't so far. The US has never stopped sending weapons to Ukraine. We just don't announce it anymore. No, Steve, you're wrong. US is sending weapons to Ukraine. Yes, but the announcements still come. I don't know where you took that oh, we just don't announce it anymore. No, that's not true. It's like the packages are still announced. We still know that we don't fully know the contents of the packages. There is indeed secret parts in these packages of what they contain. There can be no quantities, or it can be something specifically vague, like, for example, armored vehicles. Like, it can be literally anything. But you cannot just say, oh, we were still sending weapons to Ukraine. We just never announce it. That's not how democracies work. Kevin Matteridge, like, for example, Finland, they never disclosed any packages that they sent. But we still know that the packages went in. The US has never... Georgie, how long Ukraine... Kevin, Georgie, how long before Ukraine gets good amount of jets? That will make huge difference. So far, like, good amount of jets, in my perspective is like over 150. Like Ukraine is asking for 200, 100 minimum was like the notable amount that I've heard. So 150 for me is a zone in which Ukraine has the jets that they need to make a difference on the battlefield, and 150 to make them like actually efficient and actually dominate the sky so they can start driving Russians out. So far, it seems during the next year, Ukraine will get 60 jets max, because Belgian jets that were promised supposedly are going to arrive only in 2025. So if we just put numbers on your question, like when Ukraine is going to get 150 jets, not next year. Captain Copenhagen, Vilduiki, what? Okay. Vilduiki, okay. Sergey, hey Georgies, thanks a lot for support. How do I better involve people in the West to the Ukrainian cause? Many people just don't care. Okay. So I assume you're Ukrainian. I have a test. I have a test for you. So, you know, as a Ukrainian, before you start interacting with a lot of people, there is a test question that you ask, right? The test question for Ukrainians that are asking to the Western people is, who's Crimea? Whom does Crimea belongs to? That's the test question that Ukrainians ask. It's a question that every single foreigner that you want to interact with, you should start with, and that's your first like kind of interaction point. Because if they cannot answer that question that Crimea belongs to Ukraine, you're talking to a wall. Secondly, before you start talking about anything else, like that person, or like I actually need to ask you question about that person, because I see a lot of Ukrainians that try to reach out to a lot of foreigners without understanding shit about how European Union works, how Western powers work, how US works, and so on. Like the question is incredibly simple. Yes. Sorry. The question is incredibly simple for you as a Ukrainian. Who is Taylor Swift? If you can answer that and why she's known, what she's known for, if you can answer that without Googling, you're welcome to start interacting with the people in the West. Because I see so many Ukrainians think that they know shit and they don't. And they try to reach out and then they just make things a lot worse. I'm sorry, but like that's the control question before you start interacting. So then we go into like how do we then get to the communication, how to involve the Western powers? There are ways to do it. Like, what do you want? Do you want to do a public campaign, or do you want to do the like a political campaign? Because if you want to do public campaign, it doesn't work exactly the same. Like we don't have a single platform. It's a very dissatisfied. The best option you can do is reach out to local charities and work with local operations, with people that are already working to support Ukraine, and ask them, what do you need to support Ukraine more? What can we do from Ukrainian side to help you grow? Because people that are already doing it know a lot better. If you're trying to establish something else, something new, then you probably need someone local to help you out with that. Like whether in one country or another. There's a lot of locals that are coming to help Ukraine. For example, there's a lot of people coming with the 69th Sniffing Brigade, and you can work with them and they can get you in contact with other people, like to start talking about certain things in certain countries. That will help you. And if you just want to go out on some shitter platform and try to explain people like, oh guys, you're wrong, actually it's this, not this, no one is listening. Like we in the West are in echo chamber. People have deluded perceptions of Russians and who they are, No one, like, Russia is still very much romanticized in the Western powers in the Western world. We're still thinking that Putin can be negotiated with. And there's a lot of other things, a lot of other delusions. Whatever work needs to be done needs to be either done by mass, by professionals. And if it's just going to be on a human level interaction, then it's not going to be to scale. If you don't want to be to scale and you just want to do human interactions, you're very welcome. Go to the social chats, visit Europe, come to Europe. Best way. Best way to do is to come to Europe. I don't know, go to the, local libraries or whatnot. Like, I don't know if libraries, like, or local events, and ask is like, can I share my story, my experience? That can work. But just saying, reaching out on social media and so on, that's gonna get you nowhere. Yes. Yes, a lot of Ukrainians don't know who Taylor Swift is. Yes. Spicy chicken, in your opinion, what's points? No, it's like, this is not on the Taylor Swift's positions. It's not about like what she represents, why she represents, like, it's all completely irrelevant. It's more about like who she is, like as a person, like because in Ukraine a lot of people just don't know she exists, like they don't know that person at all. They don't know that person is like even a thing. Yeah, I know, it's weird. We haven't heard much about the nuclear plant. Is it safe, Kevin? Yes, it is. Because why? Because I said so. Remember when was the discussion that like, oh my God, the nuclear plant is about to blow? And I said like, guys, no, it's not. No, it's not. I went out, specifically listened to the people that are working with nuclear stations, and they, for 2 hours, long and excruciating details, explained why Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is not a danger, and how hard you need to try to make the radiation leak. And at that moment, I understood that's like, okay, it's not in danger at all. So it's fine. Nuclear power plant is fine. And we're not hearing it because Russia stopped using it as a threat. That's it. Georgie, did you see the USA ruling that if Russian assets can be frozen legally, then the same assets can be seized legally and given to Ukraine? It's a promising step forward. When I see it, I believe it. Because so far, I've seen people like, how do you say, like cooking that 300 assets on the, and saying, oh, it's about to be ready, and like just edging me like for like 1.5 years. So when they're there, it's good. Before they're there, I don't really believe it. It was me. Why is Kiev falling apart? What? Why is Kiev falling apart? What do you mean by saying this? What did I say? Kiev is falling apart? What? Chat, I need your help. Did I say Kiev is falling apart? I don't understand what it means. I don't recall saying that. Sorry. If people in chat will correct me, then I will gladly answer that question. I don't know what that means. David Elston, Georgie, do you think OPSEC will Georgie, do you think OPEC will flood the oil markets next year to flush out the US producers? No. No, I didn't. Yeah, exactly. Klitschko. Yeah, I told you about Klitschko, but I didn't say Kiev is falling apart. If you're saying why in Kiev certain infrastructure is shit, well, that's a good question to the mayor of the city, because Kiev is in a very, very big, like, bad state. Like, as a city, like as a normal city to live in for inhabitants. The transport is shit. Give me a second. Sorry. My wife decided to be like a sound alarm and yell. I needed to explain that maybe. Yes, so the Kiev and Kiev's infrastructure is not to the best state it is. And Klitschko doesn't want to take responsibility, so he tries to push the responsibility on Zelensky. There we go. Yes, administration is a mess. Yes. Yes, whatever they're doing with the funding, it's not working right, so. Okay, so OPEC Plus, I looked into this. Like recently, Putin went to the United Arab Emirates, and a lot of people were just really impressed by it. Oh my God, look at these Arab Emirates meeting Putin with all these planes flying Russian colors and so on. It's like, it's crap that they're doing for everyone. They're like, they just want to throw like some pretty picture in the eyes of the arrival. That's the thing that they're doing literally for everyone. Like, don't think about it too much. Like, last time they did it for China and so on. The more important thing was why Putin was there. And why they were there is that they are screwed, because OPEC is in a really tight space. So David, your premise here is wrong. Because what OPEC wants, ultimately what they want, like, it's not about them producing oil. Like, they have all the oil. Like, they have so much freaking oil that it's not about that. The problem with that is, like, if they start flooding the market, then they don't get the profits for that oil. Then they don't get the oil that they need. What they need for their economies to work correctly and be good is for oil to be expensive. And that's why that cartel is there. Their point is to keep oil expensive and try to release as much as they possibly can. So that's what they want. If they start releasing and the oil becomes cheap, that comes completely opposite to their goals. It's not what they want. So the problem was that last time they met, they agreed on the cuts for oils and imports, releasing the oil to the markets. And that cuts was supposed to push the price of oil higher up, closer towards $100 for barrel. The problem was it did not work because production in US has been steadily growing. US has been steadily increasing their own and like satisfying their own demands, and US has been doing really great job on oil. The prices for oil didn't rise. So what happened is they cut the supply, but it didn't change the outcome for price. The price didn't grow. Instead, the price dropped. And now they met this meeting right now because they find themselves in a very tight spot where reducing the supplies of oil to the market is not a very positive thing to do for them because their economy still needs to sell quantity. However, if the price just doesn't rise, well, what then? They are in a very, very bad situation because of what the Western powers have been doing, specifically US, with their oil production. They are really screwed with that. So why they came, why specifically Putin came to the United Arab Emirates, is because they're feeling a pinch, especially Russia, because Russia is having both the oil cap that is now being supposedly reinforced, and also the fact that their oil cuts didn't really benefit them with the higher prices, and they're now fighting themselves in a very, very, very difficult situation where further cuts potentially will not rise get the oil higher up, but they can just see less of the profits. So no, I don't think they will drive the oil prices down. It's not going to benefit them. What leaders, Georgie? I don't know. That would be very nice if that question had context. If it's something I talked about, wait, I talked about leaders, right? I talked about our leaders failing us. Well, our leaders in the West, like, Merkel, Macron, Biden, everyone. It's like they just didn't respond to the Russian aggression. Like we just were like just looking at how Ukraine is being destroyed and did almost nothing. We didn't want to get our hands dirty. So we didn't understand that, like, right now is the time to react. We just says like, oh, it's going to cost us too much. That's what I mean, that our leaders didn't take the responsibility and react properly. Will the GOP fight for oil? I don't know. Lou, Justin, Zelenskyy, and Orban talking in Argentina. Yeah, I saw that clip. I gotta say props to Zelenskyy for being able to speak with that Jabba the Hutt. Jamie S., how are you feeling about the White House and Capitol Hill plus Zelenskyy Orban round 2? Mixed. Otuku Cocker, how come we can't have a more comprehensive review and more engaging truth? A history lesson and then news reporters on the front review what the liars say, like redacted, and then showing the truth. Because it's not about the truth. Nothing is about the truth. You don't want to hear the truth. Like, the truth is, our perception of the world has nothing to do with reality anymore. US economy, like one of the most mind-blowing thing that I just saw in recent days is that US and American perception of their economy and the actual state of economy is the widest that there have ever been. US economy is doing quite well. US economically is doing really good. However, the perception of that economy, and when you, for example, read Twitter or something like this, then people are crying out loud and saying we have the worst crisis since, I don't know, sliced cheese disappeared from the shops. We are living in a world where the truth doesn't matter. Like the coming of Brexit and Donald Trump beyond the self was a very significant factor. We are living in a post-truth world. Truth does not matter anymore. Facts do not matter. It's only whether or not you can save yourself in this world, because majority just don't give a shit. They are running this world and are living in this world based on how they feel instead of what's actually real. We're not. We're back in Kansas, Dorothy. Yeah. To New Yorkers, in the end, Ukraine's budget will get passed. If Ukraine doesn't get money, no one gets money. The US can't afford to abandon its allies. Nobody would ever trust them again. Yes, but that's exactly what's already happening, New Yorker. How do you think for example, the Baltic states and Poland is feeling about US focusing more on their internal problems and not supporting their allies that are fighting the war right now for their survival? Like, it doesn't really project confidence, does it? It's like there is a lot of internal discussions. No one is having it easy. And it's not being like, if before that uneasiness in Europe was when the Trump was in power, because just Trump wasn't there for the Eastern powers. Now, we even see that supposedly there is a will to help Ukraine, yet there is no help for Ukraine. Let's skip the details. I mean, just situation. And it is really, really, so even the closest allies of US are looking at US and says, but can we really trust you? And the question is kind of stuck in the air, like it's just hanging. Does Argentina produce 155mm ammunition? What kind of weapons they produce? Any info if they can collaborate with Ukraine? Yeah, Argentina is ultra fucked. Like, their economy is ultra fucked. So Argentina should focus on Argentina. I don't think, like, I mean, if they start weapons production, that's could be a nice boost for their economy because there is a market for that. But Argentina is like ultra fucked. So right now they need to really get their stuff in order first. Doug Vegan Paradise Builder. Does Ukraine need manpower? If so, can economic asylum seekers and political refugees be sent to Ukraine under a special program? There's much to do in Ukraine now and after the war. Ukraine needs manpower. Right now, it has been reaching out to the draft dodgers that escaped to EU to try to get them back into Ukraine. Certain work on that is being done. But it's a difficult topic, right? Because we get into the very nasty situation for democracies. Because democracies are all about human individuality. You get me. And when we're talking about countries having the right to defend themselves, we're also talking about the total draft. Because Ukraine is right now in a survival mode, right? It's a state of the country. It's a total draft. It's a state of complete mobilization. That is Ukraine. So there is a lot of people that don't want to be on the front lines. There's a lot of people that don't want to go and be in danger of dying because people want to live. That's how people are, you know? But will they say that they don't want that? Probably not. Like on the camera, if they ask like, oh, how do you think, like, why did you escape Ukraine or something like this? And like, oh, because, I don't know, Ukraine is corrupt or something like this. Like, I don't know, anything like this. Because I am not sure like what Ukraine is fighting for. Because I'm not sure if we can win Ukraine and so on. So they'll find like 1,001 reasons to say why they don't want to fight. And a question for us, like as a Western world, because we are so comfortable living now that our human lives and human freedom is everything that defines us. And when we say, yes, but the state has the power to draft you, to put you in the shoes of a military, give you a gun and force you to the front line. Is that really freedom? And that is the very difficult, very, very, very difficult, probably one of the most fundamentally difficult questions for democracies. My perspective is yes, because democracies and the states of democracies are not given, and they are being fought for. So our contract is that not only we are free to do what we want, to criticize our powers, to not being thrown in jail for that and so on, but there is also responsibility for us to then, if that country is in danger, to protect it. That is how I feel. Okay? If Latvia gets invaded, I'm going to unfortunately cut these streams and probably go draft. But if we are right now in a situation where this total invasion is happening, try to ask yourself, if your country gonna draft you, will you go? Will the person that you know from your neighbor, from your school, will they go? What about the friend that you know has the family? What about the friend that you know that was, you know, sick? Because total draft doesn't really matter anymore if you're sick or not. It's like, can you fire? Yes, go. It's a difficult question for democracies, fundamentally difficult. So, does Ukraine need manpower? Yes. Is any way of getting that manpower worth it? It might be. Phil Bornholt, I think it's time to face up to the fact that US is no longer as reliable as ally as we believed. What should we be doing to protect ourselves and Ukraine? Learn how to fire a rifle. That's the first good tip. I'm already looking into this. But other than that, investing in weapons productions, weapons manufacturers is your best option. To review your views on if you had about whether weapons are good or bad, consider that an armed country is a protected country. Protect democracy is the third. The only way why Russia thought that they can win in Ukraine, why they decided to infiltrate Ukraine, is because they thought that they have a footing in Ukraine, that they thought that that there was enough internal fighting in Ukraine that they will not fight back. Ukraine was weak. At least Russia saw it as weak. If democracies want to stick together, they will need to be strong. So we need to make sure that democracies are armed and strong. And whenever we see some authoritarian powers like Viktor Orban coming to power, we must stand up against it and not allow it. Protests, votes. While we're living in working democracy, in a working society, voting is your best bet. Right now, for example, in US, Trump is a absolute danger to democracy. And I'm saying specifically Trump, not Republicans. Like a lot of Republicans I watched on Republican debates and so on, they stand for different views. Maybe some of them are about the same as Trump. But there are actual people that just want to see democracies burn. And we need to identify this. And while we are still in working democracies, we must do, it's our duty to do everything we can. In our case, it's very simple. You just vote. So don't vote for a person that's going to dismantle your democracy. That's a good start. Yeah, in Germany as well. Like there is AfD. Like AfD wants to dismantle Germany. But nope. I talked about the rumors about GLSDB a little bit earlier at the start. Northern Scott, are Russians just slow or just scared of the repercussions for actually thinking on their own? How can they put it up with such an idiot war criminal as a president? Because they don't see it this way. It's a... Oh, how can I explain it very shortly? So Russians see the world, and specifically Ukrainians, as lesser, right? They always try to paint that they're not in shit, that everyone else is like their besieged fortress as a country, and this is what they've been fed up to. That their country is a besieged fortress, that the whole world is working against them to make sure that they suffer, and so all of the problems that they have from the other, all the problems that they have from in their lives are stemming in one way or another from the other sources. It doesn't mean that they see Putin as their savior, no, but they are trying to paint him as a guy that can try to do something, and they don't see an alternative for him. So there's like, if not Putin, then who? That's a very common question that Russians might ask if you try to push them to a wall, so to say. And they don't even see the possibility. They don't even imagine that someone else might come. And there's a lot of they don't have the logical thinking in a way that we do. They don't think it. Like it's a sort of the same why people believe conspiracy theories. I'm not sure if you've seen any studies, but like even like if people start believing conspiracy theories, that they're getting very prone to believing things just for the sake of believing. Even, for example, that even if they completely contradict each other. I cannot have it, like cannot imagine any on top of my head, but there can be like two very conspiracy theories, like for example that the world is controlled by a deep state, and the same way it's also controlled by the, I don't know, by the oligarchs from I don't know, let's take it China or something, I don't know. So on one side there is like an American deep state, on the other side there is like oligarchs from China. And those two theories can coexist, and it's kind of the same for Russians, like not like the same kind of thinking pattern, that they can think about how things are and believe in them without really challenging if that even makes sense. So, for example, they can go to follow Putin's order to go to war and then try to attack and then record a message asking Putin to please get them out of there. And in their mind, like these two things don't collide. They're like, yeah, I mean, like if I just want to get out, I need to ask the president, despite the fact that it was the president originally that sent you there. It's a mess. Like, let's put it this way. It's just a huge, huge mess. All right. Yeah, I didn't expect it, explain it well, but I can't. I cannot think today. Who is blocking delivery of Australian and Swedish F-18 to Ukraine? I don't think there was any agreement struck on deliveries. So if there was no agreement, so I'm not completely sure if there is a block. I've heard that there is a work still ongoing on potential deliveries, but I'm not sure if there is any block. For Sweden, I know for sure that it was right now the Sweden said like we're not part of NATO yet, so we don't. Is there any update of severity of damage suffered by Severomuysky tunel? Oh yeah, very good point. Like I recorded like 2 videos and I always forgot to mention this. I'll try to put it into tomorrow's video. So the tunnel has been cleared. The damage is not significant. So the tunnel unfortunately is open back again. So that's the news from there. So there was no significant damage dealt to it, so that would prevent the trains going through it, unfortunately. But the threat still remains. We'll see if there will be more sabotage attempts. Was a good attempt. Like the only person that doesn't succeed is the one that doesn't attempts. Gen consensus: Russian propaganda says Russia has won, but what they gained this month they didn't have in October. At worst, it's a stalemate. Yeah, exactly. And this is the facts on the ground. Like people say, it's like, oh, the map doesn't move. It's like, yes, because Ukraine is in defense and Russia is attacking. It's like, yeah, but the map doesn't move, so Ukraine is losing. It's like, no, Russia is attacking and they're not gaining anything. Like 2 months. Human waves every day, tank columns, everything. Like we see destroyed vehicles, and everyone is like, just yeah, okay. Like 2 Bradleys, like okay, a column of Bradleys that we saw burning, and it was like, oh, Bradley's on fire! Holy crap! Remember how long that we discussed this? Like every news article, like on every front page, everywhere. It's like Russia has like hundreds of tanks burned in less than a month. Okay. Just okay. You know, so it's okay. That's where I say that like the facts just doesn't add up. Maximus M. Georgie, I like your work. Keep it up. Yes, I will. USA planned 60 billion, but even if they don't give anything, EU cowls still buy from... could, I guess, not cowls, but could still buy from the USA, right? So the EU can also just take their responsibility, right? Yes, Maximus, but what you're missing is where that money was supposed to go. 60 billions don't go to Ukraine. Majority of that 60 billions, I believe it was around like 42 billion-ish, that was supposed to go back into the US. So 42 billions were supposed to be invested into the US economy to boost production of equipment to Ukraine. That would be then delivered to Ukraine. So it's not the 42 millions that were supposed to go to Ukraine, it's the investment in the industry of US. So it was more about US industry package rather than Ukraine support package. So whether EU countries will invest in US industries, questionable. I still believe that there is a lot of narratives in the EU that we should invest in the EU-based production. Jamie, so you have any Swedish contacts with info about a positive Gripen transfer to Ukraine? Yeah, you should reach out to Brandon. He has a Swedish residency. I'm pretty sure he knows people in Sweden. About Gripen transfers. I don't have any contacts about Gripen transfers. Sorry. Helen Dunn. Pentagon has discretionary budget that it can use. Old kits like Bradley's ATACMS already paid for, so they can zero it out. I think there is more secretive way to give weapons to Ukraine. Yes, Kellen, but scale matters. So that budget, I believe, is like a 1 billion, I believe, in total. And if we can consider that some of the assets are like depreciated, then it's still, it's for all allies, including like Israel, Taiwan, and so on. So it's not as big, unfortunately. Nathan, breaking. Biden has invited President Zelensky to the White House for a meeting on Tuesday, December 12th. December 12th? Okay, it's in 2 days. To underscore the United States' unshakable commitment to supplying to the people of Ukraine. The problem with that is that it's unclear how. Like, it's a nice gesture, you know? And Biden has been stating a lot of really base things about how they should support Ukraine. Except for one, he never said that Ukraine should win. That's one thing that I've never heard Biden say, and I would want him to say that. But the question is, how exactly are you going to do it, Mr. President? If on the 12th, he's not just going to stay in there and says like, we're going to support Ukraine. Sorry. I cannot do Biden impersonations. I'm not that old yet. Give me 50 years and I'll get there. So if Biden needs a way to go through, and his way right now is through the internal dispute. Right now, we can clearly state that about 3 weeks, nothing is going to happen from US, because the country just goes on the holiday, I believe, on the 14th. So I don't really understand how is this going to help anyone. Like, it's one of those moments when actions speak better than words. There was a lot of words. As they defend themselves against Russians. True? Oh, wait. So that was a question. I haven't heard about this. So, because you started your sentence with breaking. Biden has invited President Zelensky to White House. And then at the end you ask, period, a true question mark. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if there was a statement, there was a statement. If there was a question, I don't know. Zoltan, according to the Oryx portal, the Russian army lost 2,527 documented tanks. If we add 20% to that documented, it's over 3,000 tanks. How many more tanks can Russia possibly deploy? Covered Cabal did a count out of tanks. You should watch his channel. Super amazing. Covered Cabal. I will. I wonder if I can link his. Can someone link Covered Cabal, a video about tanks, his recent ones, where the guy just literally went onto the Google Maps and satellite images and counted like one and after another the tanks that Russia has in their stockpiles. So there's plenty of tanks. 3,000 is not the end. Steve Cady, if you don't know who Taylor Swift is, don't sweat it. You're not missing anything. It's not about missing anything. It's not about just like knowing that person exists. It's like, because like, you know, not knowing Taylor Swift is just weird. It's just like, it's weird. Kellen Dunn, this is far-fetched, but if allies abandon Ukraine, can Ukraine restart its nuclear capability to ensure Russia never attack again in the future? Yes, but it requires resources. Right now, resources are not going that way, so it's not completely unclear. Besides, not all of the allies are going to abandon US. Poland, the Baltics are not going to abandon Ukraine. Nordics not going to abandon Ukraine. Great Britain seemingly not going to abandon Ukraine. Germany is very strongly supporting Ukraine, at least with the current government, and actually even with the opposition government, the CDU, they're also pro-Ukraine. So there is a lot of support for Ukraine. So we should not diminish that. And a lot of that support has a lot of money. A lot of money. Ukraine has a lot of allies, a lot of really good allies. So we'll see. Are the Russians behind the issues in Poland? No, I don't think so. I mean, like information campaign, like maybe financing, like opposition parties. Yeah, probably some of it. Like, but like that's not what Putin does. Like, Putin is not a strategic mastermind. He's not like the person that manipulates the events to fit his narratives. He's an opportunist. He saw an opportunity, and then he started exploiting. He's like, how can we fire it up more? How can we, maybe involve the elements from the Hungary and Slovakia to also, fan up? Maybe get some money there so they protested. Stuff like that. It's like if he sees an opportunity, he can grab it because he has resources. But he's not the person that's like, I'm going to make sure that I make things up that were not there before. No, it's not that. Croc501, when Ukraine gets F-16s, do you think Poland or Romania will allow Ukraine to fly their F-16s from NATO airbase? No, I don't think so. Kenroy, why are the American people letting Donald Trump destroy America? It's, I mean, I'm not the person to talk about that. Ask Jake bro, maybe any other American. People in chat can probably say it, but then probably mods are going to ban everyone because political talks and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I explained a lot about how I see the America First kind of a vision. I think this is the weakest position one can have. It gives up on everything that was great about America. It gives up all the glory and like the beacon of light of democracy that US has built itself to be, a flawed democracy, like everything in this world. Like US is not US is not perfect, but it was like a great beacon of democracy still. For a large part, Ukrainians were looking up to the West because of the image that US has been portraying. And just to give it all away and just foil back and do like, I think like Ramaswamy, the candidate, if I can say so on the Republican, says it's best. Like his plan is like, okay, so my plan for Ukraine is to give Putin everything that he stole, and then ask him nicely to not cooperate with China, and then I'm gonna ask him to sign a paper that he will like that Putin like never really cared about. So like to do just these like public manipulations and just give up on everything that makes US great. So I don't understand it, and I really have no answer for it, because for me US has been always there for why I like democracy so much, why I value freedom so much. Is it perfect? No, but it's there. Like, and if it just removes itself from the world, we're gonna have a lot worse world. Naming the terror opposing countries the West is a mistake. It opens the opportunity for blame and responsibility shifting, makes it more difficult to call those people in the power out. Yeah. Obviously, I'm calling it like the colloquial West. It's we're now in an opposition part. Like it's just it's like the West is just such a used term right now. So I'm just I know what you mean, and you're right, and I'm wrong, but I'm just a little bit idiot. Arturas, which side dominates drone warfare now in frontline Ukraine? Which dedicated will to push the technology innovation of Russia that has more resources in disposal? So the fact that Russia has more resources to disposal is a questionable. They have bigger stockpiles of stuff, yes, but do they have like more technology in general? That is not the question that I would be agreeing. Drone warfare right now is different. Right now, it's very dependent. Russia has definitely boosted their drone production, but it's not uniform throughout the front lines. So sometimes you will hear that Ukrainians are struggling because Russia has a lot of drones. Sometimes Russians will complain that Ukraine has a lot of drones. This is because of how the front lines are developing. In Russians, they can just get deliveries of a lot of drones right away to one part of the front line, and then for some time, that part of the front line is experiencing a lot of Russian drones. But on the other front line, there might be 0 to none Russian drones operating. So it's uneven. Like that's why like hearing that Russia has just a dominant drone warfare is inaccurate, because the only kind of references I see for that is the anecdotal references from certain parts of the front line, and that's how it is. Ukraine overall still has the edge on a drone warfare. Sub-Hero, hi, nice to see you, man. With or without the US, us Europeans, we will remain standing with Ukrainians. There is other way but victory. There is no other way, I guess, no other way than victory. Think of Europe as overcome. A bastard like Putin will never win. Slava Ukraini, golden. Like, just, I signed up for everything. And specifically for you, my friend. Like, Sub-Hero is a Bulgarian. And just recently, Bulgaria has agreed, like, they overcame the veto of the president of the country to deliver additional equipment for Ukraine. I believe it's 100 older infantry, infantry armored vehicles, something like that, or armored vehicles. And it's really good. It's really good. It's 100 vehicles that Ukraine didn't have before. Now it has. Are they old? Yes. Are they require fitting and maybe repairs? Yes. But it's 100 vehicles that Ukraine can have that they didn't have before. Bulgaria has been instrumental in Ukrainian survival. I really think that Bulgaria should be more and more praised for the work that they have been doing. Both Bulgaria and Romania have been absolutely fundamental to Ukrainian survival. It's very important. We often focus a lot on Poland because Poland is kind of like perceived as this great hub, because through Poland, German equipment and like a US equipment comes in, and that's why Poland is this great hub, and that's why a lot of attention. However, Romania and Bulgaria and Balkan countries in general, they have been huge boon to Ukraine. They have been very trusted allies. They helped with the maritime warfare a lot. They helped a lot Ukraine to stabilize their imports. So huge thanks to Bulgaria and Romania. I hope Ukrainians are noting that. I don't speak for Ukrainians, but from my side, as a person who has a family in Ukraine, thank you for working so hard on working to save my family and keep them alive. I really appreciate it. We have to, Frakis Maximus, we have to remember that it was Obama that started the policies of appeasing Russia and refusal to help Ukraine in any meaningful way. Yeah, we can go a little bit back also with Clinton, because like we think that Russia was bad starting with Putin. It's not true. If you looked at Yeltsin and what he was stating about Russia, it's as bad as Putin to an extent. He just didn't have the guts to become a full-blown dictator. But because Putin is a KGB agent, he's not empathetic. He doesn't care about people, so he could do it. Yeltsin just couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle sending people to die and so on. So that's why he became an alcoholic and died. USA has advanced alien tech. Have you followed this? Yes. Space lasers. I mean, yes, definitely. Ferelzen, do you feel that most conservative talking heads in the West have been hijacked propaganda? The left isn't exactly spared, but the right seems to have it worst. Orban and the ilk. We need to understand that mostly we're talking about the right as being this great voices because the right is more popular. Leftist politicians just don't have the major appeal, like far left. I mean, far left. They just don't have the appeal in Europe as the Western powers, because migration has been a big boon for them during the Merkel times. That was a very flawed policy, and we are now in a situation where there is again the ability, and Putin is doing what he was doing before. They have established channels on how to transfer dirty money to them, so it's nothing new. And that's why it feels that the far right have hijacked and Putin is working with far right. No, Putin is just working with everyone that just want to destroy the current state of affairs. Like both far left and far right, they're more interested in destroying what we're having right now, destroying our countries as they are right now, rather than working on changing or improving them. They just want to like essentially a revolution rather than evolution. And yeah, Putin is very keen to that. Everything that can destroy the Western world order is fine by him. I mean, Slovakia, isn't Slovakian like president far right, far left? So it's not always far right. Or he's like far corrupt, maybe. Slovakian guys tell me. Will Russia freeze in time without expertise, spare parts, and so on? Yeah, it might. If Ukraine wants more soldiers, why don't they draft women too? It's being discussed. It's being discussed right now. Right now, women can serve in Ukrainian military voluntarily. They're not being drafted, but it's not an option that is not being considered. If you switch places with Zelenskyy today, what would you do differently? Oh, I wouldn't want to switch that. Like, dude, that's like the worst place to be in. That's the balls of steel. Oh. It's hard to say what I would do differently because I don't have the information, the depth of information, right? As a commentator of this war, I only have access to bad and really bad sources of information, whereas Zelenskyy sometimes have access to the internal information. And this is what a lot of credit is not being given to, like the higher ups, the command, the Zelenskyy, and so on, is that we are perceiving a very narrow slice of the total information that is available to Zelenskyy and so on. So we're not seeing the full scale of it. So would I do anything differently? I think the only thing I would do differently is not build up expectation for the counteroffensive, to be more active in management of expectations, because that thing is a really painful one. That was the most painful blow that Zelenskyy's team did for Ukraine. The inability to manage expectations is a real problem. When are going to step in big companies, separate from politics in support of arms or other stuff? They already have. There's already a discussion about getting companies working on Ukraine. So it's already ongoing. Do you think based on the Russian and Iranian visits with Cuba, they are trying to get another front open for the US to deal with? It's not impossible. Like that could be happening, but I don't have the details, so it's a pure speculation. Your guess is good as mine. Wither, what will happen to Ukraine if US doesn't approve funding before 2024? I think it will disrupt the plans that Ukraine could have had for counter-offensive pushes during the spring. I will believe that it might have to rebuild their plans and extend their outline for when and if at all they will be able to do counteroffensive pushes against Russia. Maria, Georgie, please give names of weapons manufacturing companies we can invest in Ukraine. Drones. Oh, it's a good question. Actually, nice question to ask. Maria, I'm gonna write it down. I'm going to look about investments in Ukrainian companies and specifically weapons companies, okay? Let me Google this and I will come back with some kind of proposal, because I was also looking for investments and so on, and that question has been on my mind as well. I think I need to reach out and start building like a proper network of contacts that can really analyze the companies. My need for that is also quite high. Nick, if support from places like US reduces or stops, do you think Ukraine will start negotiating? No. To just keep the borders as they stand now? No. Lose whatever ground they have lost, but not lose any more people? No. No chance. Absolutely zero. Georgia, will Ukraine draft women? It's a possibility. It's not there is a non-zero chance for that. Mobshell, FPV drones seem to be force multiplying. Do they actually help Ukraine operate with less manpower? Are Russians able to use them as extensively as Ukrainian does? Not yet, but they're growing to that capacity. But also additional electronic warfare is growing. So we will see evolution with the FPV drones as well, as the electronic warfare is being being grown. Right now, drones have the ability, they have the niche of their effectiveness. That niche will disappear at some point when the countermeasures will be in place. Already now, Ukrainians have shown videos where they have equipment that can intercept videos from the Russian FPV drones, and they're just tracking if the drone is coming back to the base, then they're just locating where the drone location is, and then they're striking that location instantly. This is mostly happening around the southern part of Kherson, where Russians are complaining that their drone operations are being just incredibly targeted down. So this weapon, they are very strong right now, but it will evolve. Everything always evolves, and this will not be different. Why some peoples or even some bloggers don't understand the huge success of Ukraine? Do we understand how difficult and costs to regain square meters in a battle zone? Yes, but also there is the notion of, like, our perception of war is not linear. what I said before, that how we see the world is not always fully correlated with facts, is true. And for me as well, you know, I'm not that different. Like, I'm not always optimistic. I'm not always everything is going to be nice and smooth. There are always for us ups and downs in our moods and so on, and our brain is filtering things. That's just how our human brain works. It's something that my psychologist helped me at the start of the war, because I was devastated by the start of the war, by this escalating sphere of violence. And that's why when my psychologist really helped me to be actively monitoring my own mental state about how I feel and whether or not I fall into this pattern of like a downhill going pattern of negative thoughts, because our negative thoughts are being reinforced by a negative thought. So if we start thinking about something bad, there are more likely chances that we're going to feel bad about and notice more bad things around us. That's just how we work. And then we have these swinging moods as we go along. I'm pretty sure every single one of you during this 1.5 years have had the times when you were like upbeat, like, yes, Ukraine is winning, everything is going to be great, to now maybe to certain other parts where, oh my God, everything is really bad. Like, it seems there's only bad news coming out of Ukraine. How bad it is. That is just how we are seeing things. This is our brain tricking us. That's why it's important to actively follow your mental state, and that requires a lot of effort. And again, not a lot of people are doing this exercise. A lot of people are just going with the flow of the waves, and if they're feeling down, then they're gonna make content and explain how they're feeling down about it. If they're feeling up, then they're going to feel that content and start being positive. And that is when I'm stating that the media, they understand these patterns really well. So when they see that there is a massive negative wave in the society, then they just want to reinforce and feed on those clicks, because you still want to consume the same negative content. That's why they are so nicely. That's why when there is an upbeat, they will put something upbeat. And if it's a negative, then they will put something negative out. That's just how it works. And again, I might be wrong. You're free to challenge me on this. You're free to challenge me on everything I say here. I'm just sharing my opinion, right? I'm a guy on YouTube. I'm not like an expert or anything. So that's how I feel about things, and that's how I see things. And in my perspective, it makes sense. If it's true or not, it's for you to judge. Do you see Germany as transforming into... do you see Germany as transforming into forerunner in the new geopolitical reality of an aggressive Russia, winding up military production and possibly Trump presidency undermining NATO? Yes, I do feel so. Germany has been on a very, very steady state, and Germany is generally known to be very consistent in their politics. I always imagine Germany as a very like a tough machine. That's like, if it's dead set on something, then it's kind of just gonna go that way, following, like, once the bureaucracy moves, then that there is very little that can be done to stop it. Then it's like takes a significant effort to change the state of that bureaucratic machine of Germany. And I feel that the shift of that machine has been happening, and the trajectory is there, and now it's just reinforcements. So I don't see how Germany right now is going to be moving backwards from it. It's not as volatile as of like one party switches to the other. Germany is, generally speaking, more consistent than that. Slowly, yes. Oh, so slowly, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Madyar, unfortunately, Madyar like is now dealing with a lot. Like Madyar is like one of the most popular bloggers, not bloggers, but like a military person. So he's working with like a lot of other amounts. He's working like with millions of dollars. He's not like a small scale production. Madyar is another layer. So if we're looking like for smaller investments, there are other companies. I know couple. I just need to reach out to them. Let me reach out to them. Historically, the US doesn't involve unless there is a Pearl Harbor. Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, the point is, like, the only involvement that is needed so far is just the weapons. That's the point, Data. The only involvement that is needed right now is just the weapons and the money. Where, like, it's the ask is very, very small. Like, it's just a couple of percent of the defense budget. So the fact that there is such a big fuss about it is actually quite frustrating because the cost is so small. Jam 220. Why do you think all these dictators believe the US is behind everything? I mean, it's a very nice narrative. Kalendan, I saw Russia using FPV drones with RPG warheads in Black Sea. Over time, can Russia adopt, learn from armed forces of Ukraine tactics and reestablish control on the Black Sea with better drones? No, because, look, so control of the Black Sea, and this is why I said that it was a huge victory for Ukraine, because it was asymmetrical warfare. Russia has been controlling sea with their fleet of their ships that are big ships and allowed for territorial control and threatened the coast of Ukraine. So when Ukraine used the drones to fight Russian fleet and get it out, Russia is in a situation where they cannot respond because drones, if Russia starts producing naval drones, they do nothing for them at all. Because if ships are going to Ukraine, Russia can still target these ships. It was never about whether or not Russia can destroy the ships that are going to Ukraine. It can. It has the missiles, it has the capacity, and so on. It was more about that it can physically use those ships to block certain things, to mine certain things, and so on. Right now, with Ukraine able to push back these ships, then that capability is out. So if Russia just deploys drones, well, these drones have no targets. Ukraine doesn't have any ship fleet. What they will do, they will fly, they will go to the sea and explode the trading ships of other nations. Well, Russia can do it already. That's not the question. So that's why Russia right now is in a situation where it has been won in the Black Sea and has nothing to respond to that. Like, the only thing that they will be able to do is only if they will be able to fully deny this area from both air powers, drones, everything. And they just don't have that kind of capability. And it's not coming back online at all because Moscow actually would be a real help for them. But Moscow is gone. I mean, the ship. South Korea has sent over 300,000 155mm shells to Ukraine. They're ramping up production and taking from the stocks. It was mostly stocks, but South Korea is ramping out production, and that's the good part. So South Korea, one of the few countries in the world that has a massive, and I mean massive, military industrial production. Massive industrial production. The fact that South Korea is on the side of Ukraine is a huge boon. And the fact that South Korean weapons producers have been to Ukraine to talk and negotiate with Ukrainians, great success. Good opportunities there. I am very optimistic. Again, the amounts of information coming out of those meetings is minimal. And that's why it frustrates me, because this is fundamentally important. Absolutely fundamentally. A country with one of the biggest military producers in the world is saying that they will supply Ukraine, and they already has been supplying Ukraine with shells. Wow, big news, right? We should report on it. Better report who blow up the pipes based on the anonymous sources. Media. Not a question, just a suggestion for Global Matters. Explaining 3Cs initiatives project and Ukrainians. Yeah. Oh my God, Global Matters. Yeah, I just don't have the time for the other channel. I'm so fucked. Like, I'm so sorry guys. Like, my other channel, yeah, I really wanted to do it. I really want to do YouTube, but damn, like, no time. Okay, last 3 questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up today because it's been already like almost 2 hours. John Sobre, are there groups that are doing things for Ukraine troops for the holiday? Not specifically sure what, but there are plenty of people that are supporting Ukrainian troops in different formats. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be done also for holidays as well. Latest fella, Georgies, have you heard any interviews with Maria Berlinska? Yes, I follow Maria Berlinska constantly. She always has a sobering outlook on the war, but always suggests realistic solutions from the frontline problems. Yes, I follow Maria Berlinska. I follow other Ukrainian specialists in the areas. Maria Berlinska is really good. I believe she is, if I'm not completely wrong, I believe she's specializing with drones a lot, and she always has great outlooks on this. But she is more of the same type as oh my God, what was his name? Give me a second, like a Ukrainian war analyst. Taras Chmut, there we go. So and like Taras Chmut, so they're very factual. Like both Maria Berlinska and Taras Chmut, they're very, very factual. They're always working like with actual facts on the grounds and so on. So I follow her. She's very nice, but you should always filter that she's a expert and a specialist. And Maria Berlinska, her angle is that she wants to kind of always explain how fucked Ukraine is to attract attention. Like, so she is not always representing like that situation is super dark. It's very important you look at her as an expert in an area rather than a general assessment, like a person for the situation on the front line. Yes. Mark Bloch, why is the US not providing more M1 Abrams tanks to AFU as they come close to 4,000 of these tanks in storage? I mean, if I'm not wrong, some parts of that $60 billion package would be also M1 Abrams tanks. Why do European countries still supporting Russia when it's clear Russia will not stop Ukraine? Which European countries support Russia? Vitaly Portnikov, yeah, I know Vitaly Portnikov. Vitaly Portnikov he's a journalist. He is stating his opinion, and his opinion is very popular. He has some valid takes, but often he has also invalid takes. When you're listening to Portnikov, you always need to filter that he's always just is expressing his opinion. He's not always operating with facts. What I did a couple of times, I fact-checked him, and he was factually wrong on certain things. So he's entertaining to kind of see in what kind of perspectives there are in Ukrainian society, but I wouldn't just take his words for any kind of predictions or any assessments on the front lines or beyond the front lines, the political agenda, specifically the political agenda around the West. Like whenever he tries to talk around the political situation and political mechanisms that are ongoing inside of the Western world, I feel he falls in that category that he doesn't really know who Taylor Swift is, if you know what I mean. Sometimes it kind of seems okay, but then other times it's like, okay, you're like talking out of your ass. All right, that's it. Great stream. I hope you had a good time. I hope these questions that you asked help you get the perspective a little bit better. Thank you for giving me a little bit of additional time to check out the. To prepare for the video. Please do check out the Ukraine Matters shop. So check out the ukrainematters.shop. Go to see what's there. Christmas collections. Some things might be sold out. So check out Ukraine Matters that shop. It's the best way to support this. Go buy something for yourself. It will support the channel, it will support myself, and most importantly, it will help us to support the armed forces of Ukraine. We will do additional charity event for this year. We will see if it's going to be a charity or it's going to be donation to the armed forces of Ukraine. We will consider that. And then I'm going to be obviously like with giveaways and presents and everything, and I hope it's going to be great. before you leave, yeah, hit the like button. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your company. Have a great evening, and I'll see, or day, or whatever time of the cycle is there for you, and I'll see you next time.